The 1988-89 Liverpool season came off the back of an unbelievable disappointment, was marred by an unspeakable tragedy, and ended with an unthinkable collapse. But somewhere in there, through the tears and the heartbreak, there was still a day for Reds to laugh down Wembley Way. One triumph to unite a city, and maybe the most important trophy in the club's history. We're taking you back to the 1989 FA Cup final in the LFC Time Machine.
But Gerrard! Oh, you beauty!
And now the cup was theirs to take home.
Liverpool are European champions!
He has won the cup for Liverpool all by himself.
Liverpool finally are Premier League champions.
The American...
Hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the LFC Time Machine, where we take you back to the days, the games, the moments that made Liverpool FC just the most special club in the world. My name's Cam. Before we get you into today's episode though, I want you to like and subscribe us here at American Scouser. We're bringing you fresh new Liverpool content every single day. We're just fans who love Liverpool and want to give more content to you who are also Liverpool fans. And be sure to get involved with us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. I've got those links down in the description below. And y'all, today we are going over the 1989 FA Cup final, which I think is the most important Liverpool game in their history. Now that is bold, you know. If you're saying Istanbul 2005, not really going to argue with you. But be sure to leave that in the comments below what you think is the best one. But I'm going to lay it out why it was the best time in Liverpool's history in terms of the 1980s, but a hugely tumultuous season for stuff on the pitch, but more importantly off the pitch, and how this team came together and gave Reds fans a day they will never forget. All right, let's get into it.
And there it is! The crazy gang have beaten the Culture Club.
That's Liverpool FC, the Culture Club, the most successful club in the history of English football, in the midst of their best decade ever, with maybe their best ever team. Almost no one on the planet expected them to be on the wrong end of a 1-0 loss in the FA Cup final, to tiny Wimbledon no less, a club that doesn't even exist anymore. Wimbledon is only supposed to have championships in July, but this team of eccentric characters, the Crazy Gang, hit Goliath right on the bullseye with one of the greatest upsets in the famed history of the FA Cup. As spring turned to late summer, Liverpool were ready to go again. And here they were, just 1 year later, walking out between the Twin Towers of Wembley for another FA Cup final, this time against their oldest rivals. And if the story were that simple, the entire fate of the club would be much, much different. This was the cup final that wasn't supposed to happen. King Kenny's boys were the defending champions and were charging through the league once again, and had their sights set on the double, which they also captured back in 1986. The Reds have undoubtedly the best attack in the league, led by John Barnes, who is the best player in the country at this point, and his highlights are genuinely a treat to watch. You can see the defenders in fear watching him run right at them. And in 1988-89, he's in his prime at age 25.
He won it from Brock. He's got Beardsley going to his left, but still Barnes. That's a fabulous individual goal.
So he is clearly the focal point of Liverpool's team. On the other wing is Peter Beardsley, maybe an underappreciated Liverpool legend. I might be biased, but I don't think it's a stretch to say Beardsley and Barnes were the two best wingers in England at that point. Part of the reason Liverpool broke the English transfer record to nab him from Newcastle a few years earlier. Just like the rest of the 1980s, this Liverpool team was a machine. Flash forward to the middle of April, and it's business as usual. Top of the table, holding off a pesky Arsenal team, and into another FA Cup semi-final, set to take on Nottingham Forest in Sheffield's Hillsborough Stadium on the 15th. It was the hottest ticket around, but needless to say, no one expected what was going to happen next.
93 football fans are dead after Britain's worst sporting disaster. They were crushed when hundreds of supporters flooded into Sheffield's Hillsborough Stadium for the FA Cup semi-final between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest.
The shadow of Hillsborough still looms large, and the fans' passion for justice still burns to this day for the 97 victims who lost their lives. April 15th will always go down as the most notable day in the club's history. Player-manager Kenny Dalglish made sure there were LFC representatives at each of the funerals for the Hillsborough victims, mostly attended by him and his wife, as they once went to 4 services in one day, an experience that wore on Kenny to the point that he needed to abruptly step down as manager right in the middle of the 1991 campaign. With fans having their minds on more important things than football, there were rumors the final wouldn't even happen. But in a divine act from the football gods, the final provided the perfect matchup, so it did play on. In a year where the city of Liverpool hurt like none other, when both Reds and Blues knew victims of the tragedy, and every football fan empathized from everywhere, the FA Cup final was a Merseyside derby, Liverpool and Everton. No matter the winner, the cup was coming to heal a broken city. The build-up was all about the crowd, and it was immaculate, where the shades of Reds and Blues blended together. It was an all-Scouse Wembley singing You'll Never Walk Alone, along with Jerry Marsden before the match. Finally, almost inconsequentially, it was time for the football. We know how Liverpool got there, but Everton practically limped their way to this final, firmly in the twilight of their 80s glory days, with league titles in 1985 and 87 a distant memory, finishing a meager 6th in 1989. And the way the game started, you'd think the sun had already set on those glory days. That's John Aldridge. I think he is the most fascinating Liverpool career ever. We'd call him a late bloomer. He was at the end of his only 2 full seasons with the club he grew up supporting at this point. Liverpool bought the striker from Oxford United, and just 2 years from this match, he was trotting out for Tranmere Rovers, to give you a little microcosm of his career. He was also deemed not good enough to play for England, so instead he found a spot in Jack Charlton's Ireland side, along with fellow Reds Ronnie Whelan and Ray Houghton, where the fans were so thankful that they rhymed his name, Aldridge, with Maltese, just to fit him into one of their songs.
Johnny Aldridge showed the Maltese that he hadn't lost his touch. He's holding back now for the crack now till the day we get revenge on the Dutch.
In his 2 Liverpool seasons, he was nothing but a serial goal scorer, scoring 50 in 83, including 30 this season before this moment. And he still has the 6th most goals in the history of the English football pyramid. Yet, he's often forgotten because of a few unfortunate breaks in his Liverpool career. Remember last year's Cup final? The 1-0 Wimbledon victory? It was Aldridge who had the chance to equalize, but became the first player ever to miss a penalty in the FA Cup final and missed the only penalty of his 12 he took that year. But this was not 1988.
Oh, and John Aldridge in a great position, and Liverpool have scored in their first attack.
Liverpool clung on to that 1-0 lead for much of the match. Aldridge again had the chance to put the game away, but it's not John Aldridge who's remembered for this match.
Oh, that's Aldridge again.
In the 90th minute, it looked like it might be a final that all of the Liverpool team would want to forget.
And outside him a chance too, and Babala, and it's got in.
While that kept the match going, it wasn't the most important moment of the match. In fact, you'd be forgiven if you missed what was the most important moment. It's actually when John Aldridge was subbed off. You see that guy? That's Ian Rush. You might know him as Liverpool's all-time leading goal scorer, 346 to be exact. So why wasn't he starting? Well, after taking the league over in his first 8 years at Liverpool, he became one of the first British stars to try his luck abroad, signing with Italian giants Juventus before the 1988 season. After just one miserable year with the Bianconeri, he wanted to return to Merseyside, and King Kenny wanted his old strike partner back, so the Reds broke the English transfer record again, this time with a £2.87 million reunion. Problem was, Aldridge had firmly placed himself between Barnes and Beardsley on the front line, and the club's greatest goal scorer was relegated to the bench for pretty much the entire season, but still did manage to hit 11 goals before today. The only thing Rushy loved more than scoring goals was scoring goals in the FA Cup and scoring goals against Everton. Rush ripped the Toffees apart on an annual basis, becoming the first man to score a hat-trick in the Merseyside derby in over 50 years when he bagged 4 at Goodison Park in 1982. And when they met in the Cup final for the first time in 1986, Rush hit the back of the net twice and Liverpool walked away 3-1 winners. In 1989, he proved it didn't matter how much you played him. At Wembley and against Everton, no problem.
Oh, there's Rush in there. Rush! Goal! Ian Rush! Liverpool back in front.
It seemed like a fairy tale ending, until Stuart McCall equalized again.
Here's McCall again. Oh, yes! It's 2-2, and it's the same player.
But the great Ian Rush couldn't help himself. He just had to have the last laugh.
Rush! Goal! 3-2 Liverpool. Ian Rush gets his second.
In maybe Liverpool's most important game, when the club and the city needed him the most, it was the man they relied on the most who delivered. Make no mistake about it, what seemed like Ian Rush's moment was a moment for all of Liverpool. The next few weeks would not be kind to the Reds, as they collapsed against Arsenal at Anfield, conceding a goal to lose the league title on goal difference in the final minute on the final day. But this day, this moment, this was for Liverpool. As Ronnie Whelan lifted the cup to the sky, Reds fans whose tears hadn't dried in over a month were able to crack a smile.
Wow. So that was the 1989 FA Cup final. Catch your breath a little bit. I know there was a lot going on there. Legendary players, legendary team, and just an unforgettable, maybe the best FA Cup final ever played. Of course, Liverpool does win the league the next year in 1990, and then after that, it's never really the same. Obviously, 2020, the next time they're able to win the league, but so much changes after that 1990 season, and 89 is really that last great day out at Wembley to lift the FA Cups kind of under the old guard of Liverpool. So I just laid out my reasoning why I think it's the most important game in Liverpool's history. But if you disagree, be sure to leave that in the comments below, and also tell me what you want covered next. Again, we're going through all the games, the days, the events that make this the best, the most special club in the world. So be sure to leave that in the comments section below. Like and subscribe, and until next time, up the Reds.